Hey everyone, welcome to the Cabinet Maker Profit System podcast. Today we're not really talking about cabinets, we're talking about closets, but on the installation side, and I think you really want to listen to this. We're going to be talking to Eric Marshall. Many of you already know Eric because he's the past president of the ACSP. Now, if you don't know what the ACSP is and you're in the closet industry, it's the Association of Closet and Storage Professionals, and you should probably check it out because that's where all the cool people hang out in this business. I love the closet business, very dynamic people. And Eric is the doctor of closetology. He might be one of the most dynamic people. You're certainly going to hear that in today's episode. And he's the co-owner of Closet Training Institute. Today, we're going to be talking about a scary story that goes all the way back to when he started at California Closets back in 1979. Now, some of you listening weren't even alive then. The rest of us were well on our way. Anyways, Eric, I really appreciate you joining me for the show. Folks, let's get to it. Mr. Eric Marshall, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, Don?
I'm good. Well, you sound so mellow compared to the Eric I know.
Don't worry, it's going to come out.
It's coming. It's coming. Well, yeah. I'm excited to have you here. I mean, you're a speaker. And you're a specialist in the closet industry. I can't give away all your act. No, I can't do that. Hey, let me start with
so much more.
You do, actually. You do. Today we're going to talk about how to install closets, but we're going to start with a scary story. But before we do that, though, who the heck are you? And how is it you come to be speaking to all these cabinetry professionals, business owners all around the world?
So I was the first employee at California Closets back in 1979.
Wow.
I actually got hired at the company before I graduated from high school. And the very first day I worked there, I cut the front of my finger.
Oh, no.
And yes, and I didn't get fired. And I still have all my fingers today. So, and I am in woodworking. I just cut it just a little bit. I was using a circular saw. I came from a shop and I didn't really know how to use hand tools.
Right.
And I went out on the job site. It was all hand tools. I was like, well, what's in control of this? And so I picked up the saw and I grabbed a piece of wood to cut it, and it kicked back on me. And it just cut the front of my thumb just a little bit, but I had to get some stitches. I left some blood on the driveway, the normal stuff. But since then, I've stayed in the industry. I was employed at California Closet for 17 years. I helped put just about every one of their franchises.
I was going to say that's before they were even a franchise, isn't it?
Yeah. Before we were franchising, we were in a garage, and the closet product was literally raw particle board. Wow. Like we didn't even have laminate. We didn't even have drawers. Drawers came years later, and laminate came years later.
Yeah.
And I helped open all the franchises. Most of them, except for kind of the East Coast thing. There was another guy that was doing that. His name's Lance Stadmiller. He's still a friend of mine today, and he opened all the East Coast stores, but we would go in and help. And I was super young. It was kind of amazing. I was flying around. I didn't even have, I wasn't old enough to rent a car. So people had to pick me up at the airport.
That's awesome.
It was.
What was your specialty? Were you an installer, or like, what was your thing there?
So I came from a high school industrial arts program where I was one of the star pupils in the industrial arts program. And I was producing dressers and stereo cabinets, cabinetry with drawers in it, which is unusual. Most guys are making cutting boards and, little plaques. And I was actually building full furniture.
Pretty advanced.
And so I got recommended. The owner of the company came to the high school that he had left from, and he was in the same wood shop. And he asked, who's your best students? And I got recommended, and he hired me on the spot.
Awesome.
But then that first day I cut my finger, and he was like, I'm not going to fire you because I think there's potential here. Like I was one day off from never doing this again in my life. And now I've done it for nearly 43 years, I think it is now.
Okay. And all closets, the whole time in the closet space.
All closets, stuck in the closet all day long, every day of my life. Yeah. And I've traveled the world. I've been to Nigeria to do closets.
What?
I've been to Puerto Rico. Yeah, Puerto Rico maybe 5 or 10 times. Hawaii a bunch of times.
Now, is
Japan,
that to do
Australia,
actual technical work, or were you speaking or training over there?
To teach training, to teach installations and sales of closet organizers.
Wow.
So, when we were opening franchises, somebody had to teach people how to install. So I was that guy. So I was our I was our fastest installer. I not necessarily was the best, but I watched a lot of people, and I'm a sponge. I absorb stuff, and when I
Mm,
find something out that's super cool or works better, I'm not afraid to share that with other people. And I'm a good communicator. I'm a really good communicator. So I think about, I don't know, 10 years ago, I kind of got on the speaking circuit,
mm,
um, with with first it was the I think AWFS was the first place that I spoke,
sure.
and then the Closet Conference started having me speak all the time,
Mm,
and then IWF caught word, and now I'm actually speaking at KBiz now too about closets. So all the
wonderful.
woodworking shows I get to speak at, just because I'm a good communicator and I've got a lot of experience.
In doing that.
Um,
Well,
yeah.
it's in. Let me pose this to you as a business question, because we're going to talk about how to install closets, but and a scary story. I want to get to that scary
Yeah.
story, but let's set the premise first. From my perspective, as a business person looking at the operations of typically I look at a finished woodworking company. They're doing cabinets and closets. I
Yes.
believe that the install side is actually a separate business to the manufacturer side.
Yes, it is. Lots of manufacturers don't have installers. They hire that out as a labor.
We're right, but
Whereas,
they don't think about it as a separate
yeah,
business with
they, they
new
don't.
SOPs and
Yeah, it's totally different. Whereas with California Closets, we've always been the same. Marketing, sales, installation, manufacturing, everything's the same all together as one company. And cabinet guys don't really do that. It's different to them. Whereas we feel like it's the same company. And so for the past, I think 6 years ago, I spoke at IWF and AWFS about do it for me or do it myself. Should you make product or should you have somebody make it for you? And that's where
love
we
it.
started getting to, like, people started wondering, hey, maybe I could get into the closet business if somebody just makes it for me, because then I don't have to be a cabinet maker. I don't have to do much other than installations and sales.
Right.
And so I think more than half of the businesses now that do closet organizers are actually do it for me's. They don't have a shop at
Right.
all. They have a
Somebody else
storage
is cutting
facility.
for
Yeah.
them. Or
Somebody
they're
else is
buying it.
cutting for them. Yeah. Somebody that's really good at woodworking or cabinet making is cutting their parts out. They just order the parts and go install them. So
Right.
they're basically a lead generation, sales, and installation company.
Yeah.
And that's become like the business.
Yeah, I've seen a
Even,
trend myself with
yeah.
as it's harder to get labor, as it has been harder to get labor, but technically, the CNCs are getting better and better. People are saying, well, with less skilled labor, it kind of lends itself to doing more closets.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
there's people are starting to see opportunity there. I'm not saying it's a huge trend, but I've seen it more than I have
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't need much more than a 4 foot level to do a closet, a four
Hey,
foot level and a screw gun, and you're there.
well, how's this for a segue? Is the 4 foot level and a screw gun the basis for your scary story? Because can we start with that, or should we end
Yeah,
with the
we
scary
can for
story?
sure. So I'm happy to tell this. And the first time I told it, I was super embarrassed, because not only is it scary, it's quite embarrassing what happened. Um, so this is probably in the early 80s,
Mm,
before cell phones existed. Um, and we were doing job sites, and I was working in the San Fernando Valley installing closets. At the same time, I was training people at California Closets. They're opening franchises. Luckily, on this day, one of those trainees wasn't with me. I think it was just me by myself,
yeah.
if I remember right. And this is a long time ago. So some of the details I might be gone. Some of them I might be insinuating, but the scary part was for real. Um, so I go to a job site. We loaded up early in the morning. We go to a job site, and back then it was like, it wasn't laminate. Like, it literally was raw particle board with a nail gun. And I'm not even sure at this point if drill motors were a thing or if screw guns had actually been invented. Because at that point, screw guns didn't exist. You had a drill motor with a cord, and
Yeah.
you put an
Okay.
apex tip in the front of it, and it wasn't like variable speed, so it was very difficult to start a screw. And we had nail guns, and we nailed the closets together, and they raw particle board. So we'd literally show up at the shop in the morning on a Rockwell table saw. We'd rip 24-inch 96, 1696, 1496, 1296, 496, and a 6.5 by 96 strips. We'd load them up in the bottom of a Chevy van, and
Oh
we go
my
on our way.
goodness.
And it was really quick. We could do it really quick and easy.
Yeah.
And we cross cut at the home, and take it inside and nail ledgers everywhere. There was a shelf, there was a ledger. Nothing was adjustable. Today, closets are
now everything's adjustable, but at the time it was all adjustable. Ledger boards.
Yeah, because of Systems 32, which we brought into the existence in like, I think it was 89 or so. We started with System 32, drilling the holes. Everything before that was nailed. We did KV track for a little while, the KV standards. Yeah. We did that for a little while, but it became a nightmare.
Inset, though, right? Yeah.
Yes, inset. Yes. Yeah. And if the dado blade broke, it wasn't inset.
That's how it is, man. It just looks that way.
I've been through it all. Trust me. Like I've done it. And this is one of those ones. Why did you do that? And so we load up the van and we go up to some place up in, I remember it was in Chatsworth, California. And we pulled up to the house and I went to knock on the door and I got plans in my hand and nobody answers. And so I wait a few minutes because, you got to be patient and wait. This is part of installation training, by the way. I waited.
The customer service part?
Customer service part, yeah.
Right.
And I knocked on the door. This is where customer service goes. And nobody answered. So I'm like, man, we got to get this job done today. I want to go water skiing.
You have California priorities, right?
So California priorities, yeah. Whoever got done with the biggest job first got back to the shop, gets to load up the boat and go out water skiing, okay? And the other guys might meet you out there, but you might not ever come back to the dock if you're having too much fun.
Right.
So I run back down to the 7-Eleven and I got to call my boss. We don't have cell phones or pagers, by the way. Right. I call him on, put a dime, make a call. I call him up. I go, hey, we're up there. Nobody's answering the door. He goes, well, you got to get the job done today. I know the customers, you got to take care of them. So I go, okay, what do you want me to do? He goes, well, go up there and check the door, see if anything's open. So I go back up.
Do you imagine doing that today?
Yeah. Video cameras are already telling everybody you're there. Yeah. So I check the door. Guess what? The door's open. So I go inside. I get inside and the closet's full of clothing. So we've been through that before. Customer forgets to take their stuff out of the closet. So I take all the clothes out of the closet. You're already seeing it.
No.
Take the clothes out of the closet.
No.
Set up the saws outside, start cross-cutting, start installing. Closets back then, we nominally measure them because it didn't matter. And, track homes 1/3 house over, it's all the same closet.
Yeah, left hand, right hand, they're all the same. Yeah.
They're all the same in that neighborhood.
Oh, no.
So we get all
I
done.
don't want to be right. I don't want what I...
You are, Clean up, leave the invoice on the kitchen counter, go back to the shop, tell my boss we're all done, everything's great. We're like, I'm now loading the boat up. My boss comes outside. It's like 10:30 in the morning.
No.
He goes, hey, I got a call from the customer. Did you put that closet in today? I go, yeah. He goes, I think we might have put it in the wrong house.
Get out of here.
You gotta be kidding me. Yeah. He goes, yeah, can you cut up some more strips of wood and just run back up there and see what's going on? So I throw some stuff through the table saw, throw it in the truck. Like, this is not CNC. This is super easy to cut closets out. Yeah. Go up there, and I go to the address that my boss gives me, and it's a different address. It's three houses down. Yeah, it's 3 houses down. So I pull up, the customer's waiting in the driveway. She goes, hey, how you doing? I go, good. I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I'm scared to death of what I've just done.
Yeah.
And so I go inside, don't say a thing. I start installing the closet. I go outside and look down the street, and there's cops in the driveway of the house that I was in.
What are they saying to the cops? Somebody broke in and installed a cabinet.
Installed a closet. Yeah. So yeah, we totally did this.
Did you walk over and say something to them and say, hey?
Yeah, I had to. I'm like, I don't want to go to jail. So I walked down there because they're going to figure out what's going on. There's an invoice on the counter. Okay.
Oh, exactly.
It's got like our address.
Yeah. Oh
it's got the company logo on it and everything. Our vans don't have company logos. So I could they're not seeing me. So I go down there and go, hey, I think I might have installed the closet here this morning.
You got to be kidding. Oh, this is so good.
And the cops like, are you serious? This is what happened? I go, yeah. They go, well, come inside. Let's talk to the owner of the home. And I'm thinking customer, they're talking to the owner of the home, right? Yeah. And I go inside. Hey, I'm really, really sorry. She goes, hey, I'm kind of cool with it, but it doesn't work for me. I have more stuff than what you did. And so I make a plan with her. So make a plan with her. Wait, no, it turned out to all be free. I go back to the other house. I finish that house up. I go back to the shop. It's like 1 o'clock now, right? I
Yeah.
go back to the shop, cut up more strips of wood, go up to the lady's house, and I tear some stuff out and I put the new stuff in to make her needs work, right? And we don't charge her at all.
Of
Okay.
course. Yeah.
And then the lady down the street, so she doesn't have an embarrassment the rest of her life because we did her neighbor's house,
Yeah.
because she kind of felt responsible. We gave hers free too. So that day we did 3 closets for free. But I
Oh,
learned a good life lesson. Breaking and entering will send you to jail. Okay.
I thought you were going to say, like, don't transpose the numbers.
No, yeah, that's what happened. So the plans had the numbers transposed on the address. That's
Right.
exactly what the problem was.
Yeah. At unit
But to me
393
it was
versus unit 398 or,
yeah,
or however that
yeah.
works.
To
Yeah.
me, I was scared to death. Like, I'm going to go to jail. I was scared. Like, I walked up to the cops, like, thinking, "Oh, they're going to arrest me for
This is
breaking into
it.
this lady's house." Yeah, this is it.
Yeah.
I'm
You would
fired.
have the
I'm getting
weakest
arrested.
story in prison. What are you in
Yeah,
for?
yeah, yeah. What are you in
Installing a
for?
closet?
Closet? Yeah, and they'd be like, "Okay, are you coming out of the closet with us? What's
Oh
going
yeah,
on here?"
there's the closet
Oh yeah,
talks. It only took a matter of time.
it was a total wreck. Um, so yeah, that's the story, and I'm sticking to it.
Hey, can I share one with you?
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
be
for
and
sure.
I've told this on the podcast before, but I was a house painter as part of my sort of evolution into the trades.
Hmm.
And I had a crew working on a home, and they were out at the university area. And where I live, the university area is very posh, very nice.
Yeah,
And so I go out there, checking on all the jobs. Basically, I think that my job at this point in time is driving to jobs all day long, making sure my guys are doing what I want. So it's
yeah.
my sense at that age about being a project manager. And one of the guys goes, "Hey, listen, the paint spilled on the carpet." And the lady's really mad. And I'm like, "Oh
Yeah,
no, like I can't afford to change the carpets in a house like this." And I
yeah.
walk in there and she's mad, but she's mad at her dog because there's dog prints all over the house. The dog had walked through the paint.
Walk through the paint.
Yeah, so the dog had knocked over the paint. And so I'm like, "Oh my goodness, I'm sorry." She's like, "Oh, Betsy, he always does these things. And I'm so mad with him." And so, anyways, we finish up the job and leave. And I'm in the van with my painter. And he goes, "Hey, Dom, I got to tell you something." I go, "What?" He goes, "I spilled the paint and I dipped the dog in it."
No way, no way.
And then he let it run through the house.
Oh my god. Can you imagine how many stories there are?
I just
Yeah,
didn't know what to say. Like, you can't
yeah,
say good job, but at the same time, I'm still telling the story 30 something years later.
yeah,
Yeah, he took the dog, dipped him in the paint, and let him run through the house.
yeah.
Talk
I
about
have,
all in.
yeah, all so many stories about installation problems, because
Yeah.
we've done everything. We've done it all, hit the pipes, flood the house,
Oh,
you
I've
know,
had guys
just,
put ladders on hot tub covers, wondering why they broke through.
yeah,
And I'm like, that's made of
yeah,
styrofoam, man.
yeah,
What
yeah.
are you
What are you
doing?
guys doing? What are you guys doing? Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it all comes back to having a plan and executing the plan.
I'm
You
glad you
know,
said that. So let's
yeah,
talk about this how to install closets thing, because a lot of people here,
yeah,
so let's go back to the audience, the most important part of the show. These are people
yeah,
who own cabinet shops and they do closets as well, or they're architectural
yeah,
mill workers, and they're still working with the installer crew. What can we do better as business owners to help our install crews do their job better?
yeah. Make it easier. Do more work in the shop.
Hmm.
Like, for closets, having the closet rods pre-cut, that's a big deal. Because anytime you go outside to cut
Right.
something, you're wasting a half hour of
Steps.
going out, setting up a tool, and then
Oh,
walking back in with all that product.
I
You got to
hope
walk
Rick,
the
but
product in anyway. Yeah.
yeah,
And
I
then,
hope.
people will bring product in that's not even for the right job, and it's cut wrong, or it's wrong. And just walking into the job site costs us time. So making it as fluid as possible, doing as much as you possibly can in the shop, so the
Hmm,
installation time is less, is the most important thing for the installers. You know, it doesn't cut down on their hours of pay. It makes their hours work better, which gives you more pay as the owner. So little
yeah.
things like, you know, having the drawer faces have the handles drilled. We own a CNC machine. We can make the handles. We can drill the handles centered
You don't just
perfectly
have to dimple it.
so
You can,
easily.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And we don't do that. And then they forget about having to take the time to drill them. They drill them wrong because they're not a CNC machine. They're a human. So, instead of, you have 24-inch door face, instead of measuring 8 inches over and 8 inches over to put your face, you measure 9, and then you forget about the other side, and you just you measure over 9 and then 96 millimeters, and you put it in, and then they're all over by an inch, or it's crooked because you don't have your jig with you,
Right. Yeah.
So
The simple
all that
things.
kind of stuff makes so many problems. It's the simple things in the shop that could save us so much time.
Well, let's go back to the shop now, because I hear these frustrations from the owner's side when they're saying, we just shipped an entire package and the kitchen was missing its kicks, or the closet didn't have its closet rods, or whatever. What do you guys, what have you seen happen in shops to fix those problems? How do you go about backtracking it and fixing it?
Well, for misship stuff, it's got to be checked. So there's got to be a triple check system. You've got to have an in-house cut list, or parts list that everybody's got to be able to see. And there's got to be acknowledgement by the guy on the machinery that he did it.
I love it. Yeah.
There's got to be another acknowledgement that somebody put that in the stack, wherever it is. It's got to be put in the stack. And then before it goes out, there's got to be somebody that comes over and triple checks it and says, the machine guy did it right. The loader did it right. Now it's allowed to be put into the truck. And that load needs to be in some kind of cart or some kind of pallet and then wrapped before it's put in. So nothing gets missing. And once the third guy says yes, and that's not the installers, by the way, they're too busy trying to figure out where they're going and if it's the right house and if they're going to install it properly. Their job is not their job is not to do a checklist. Their job is get to the job site and install it. So that's got to be the third guy, the production manager, the owner, whoever it is. Someone needs to check it before the installer loads it up and says, yes, this is all correct on the pallet and ready to go. And now it's triple checked, ready to load. There shouldn't be problems anymore.
No.
But if we just assume that it was right, then we all know what that means. And I can't say those kind of words on the internet.
That's right. Oh, well, you can say them on the internet, but not on this show. Yeah.
Not on this show. Yeah.
Have you guys ever sat down? You were part of California Closets, which is a massive and successful franchise operation.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever sit down to calculate the cost of one extra trip?
Oh yeah.
You did. I love it. What do you think that came to?
It was recently done. It was recently done at the Closet Expo.
Yeah.
Tim Fixler, I believe, did it for us.
Mm-hmm.
And he calculated the job of a go back, and forget about the cost of the material on the go back. The go back itself cost the company $1,500, and that's a normal, like, anybody can do it go back. You take that to Manhattan, you can just double it. Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's just like, okay, they had to stop the job. They had to go back to the shop. They had to pick something up. They had to be remanufactured. The time lost, is the biggest thing, because that's revenue right there. Anytime they're not making revenue, you're losing revenue.
You're burning.
So you can definitely go and say, hey, it was only 4 miles. That was only a few gallons of gas, and it was only 2 hours from the guys. And the partition cost $35. Yeah, it was $200. Yeah, but in those 2.5 hours that it took to do that, the guys could have installed $5,000 or $6,000 worth of materials, which in the closet world, that's a revenue or a go.
It's a profit
thousands of dollars. It's a profit leak. It's a profit leak.
That's what I call them here, is profit leaks. There's so many of them in a construction business, but the go backs, and look, they're going to happen. But we have to understand, when they happen, it's a real cost. And guess who picks up the cost? It's not the homeowner.
No.
It's not the employee.
No.
The van doesn't care. It's just driving where you drive it. It ultimately, it comes out of the pocket of the owner, as everything does. And that's painful. So what do you do when you find a situation like that where you've got go backs? You've probably seen this at California Closets and in your own operations.
It's definitely a learning opportunity. Like, it's your chance to make that not happen again. So, as the owner, one of the major things you should be doing is seeing how you can reduce mistakes at your company. And this is one of the biggest mistakes you can make. Definitely the salesperson marking the wrong color on the plans is definitely the biggest mistake you can make. Or an installer installing in the wrong house.
That would be a bigger mistake. Yeah, I think you might be winning on that one.
Yeah, but trying to make sure that those kind of things don't happen anymore is very important. We don't mess up addresses anymore because we use customer service apps that actually tell us where the address is. And then they actually, the customer service actually has GPS in it driving us to the job site. Right. But we can still make mistakes. The biggest mistake today is like not having the parts on the truck, or something getting milled wrong, or the missed parts putting it onto the truck. And so we can definitely have a plan of action for that. And we need to sit down as a company and all talk about it civilly. It shouldn't be who made the mistake. It should be, how do we fix the mistake?
How do we fix it?
Because just pointing fingers makes nobody any money. In fact, pointing fingers means that person's going to leave the company, and now you got to retrain somebody. And I guarantee it's going to cost you 20 or 30 grand to retrain an employee. Okay.
Yeah. So I want to get to training in a minute. Yeah. But I'm glad you said that, because pointing fingers or having a blame culture in the company is just not the way to go. And for anybody listening who has a blame culture, and again, I know I'm speaking pointedly to somebody out there. If you as the owner are creating a blame culture, that's something that you have to work through. You've got to change your language and your approach. And if you're listening to me going, but Dom, you don't understand, my guys, and then they say X, Y, Z, then I'm going to come back and say, where did you take the responsibility so that your guys didn't make that mistake?
Yeah.
Because that no blame culture is everything.
Yeah. And that's why you're going to do a podcast on therapy this coming November, right? Because some of us need therapy. Okay.
Some of us need it.
Because that's a heart issue. That's a mind issue that we need to come back to and fix ourselves, because nobody can fix you but you. You're the only one. And sometimes we can't even fix ourselves.
No, but recognizing, placing blame, making excuses, being negatively geared, being in denial, seeing the world through the eyes of scarcity. That's if we as the owner are doing that, our team is just going to magnify that out into the market. And then you'll say, I don't know why we don't get referrals. I don't know why I can't keep staff. I don't know why we're getting negative reviews. But that's because you're allowing that magnification through the company. On the opposite, if you're positive and proactive, you take responsibility, you take ownership for the things you do, you have some sort of vision, you show people like this is where we're going, then that filters through the company too.
Yeah. And then have bonuses and company parties too. Make achievable goals that we can all achieve together, and then celebrate that together. Celebration as a company together, there's nothing better you can do.
Apparently water skiing's on the table now. I've never heard
that's celebration. That's celebration of the company.
That's who's the California stuff.
The biggest job, you get a go.
Yeah. Well, and actually, we've had guests on the show before who use, like a barbecue, a Thursday afternoon or a Friday afternoon barbecue. And then with this recruiting market, they're saying, bring a friend to the barbecue, let them know us. And we have pizza all the time and hot dogs all the time. Hey,
if anybody's having a barbecue to celebrate your employees, tell me about it. I want to show up.
You want to go there too?
That sounds like the most fun ever. Okay.
That's the day we're having ribs.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm in. I am all in for anybody that wants to do that. That's the best thing. Yeah. And it doesn't cost that much, does it?
No. And if you think, you did some quick math there, and you said if you lose an employee, it's about 20 to 30 grand to replace them. So what's the cost of getting the good smokies, the good brats?
Yeah.
Right?
Nothing.
Invite a friend. I'll tell you what, every once in a while, invite the families, because at least in my mind, that conversation at the kitchen table at home, when the spouse says to the other one, you work at a great company. When their friends are complaining about the company they work at, and your employee says, actually, our company's pretty cool.
Yeah. They love that.
Yeah.
They want to go work with their friends. They want to be at the place that throws a barbecue for everybody,
Yeah, where they're proud. Hey, I want to change the conversation a little bit to the training side, because you've seen an incredible amount of training. Being at franchises are known for having repeatable systems. And I haven't seen a course at school that says, here's how to be a cabinet installer, here's how to be a closet installer. So I'm assuming you guys hired green talent and made them great cabinet installers. Can you tell us some of the high points of how you made that happen across that organization?
Yeah, so nobody knew how to do closets. You're right. And we didn't even want cabinet makers. Cabinet makers were a look backwards. I'm sorry, cabinet makers.
Don't tell them they're listening.
I'm sorry, cabinet makers, but that was like, we had to retrain, and that's hard to do. One of the hardest things to do is take an employee that was at another closet company that learned a certain way, and then teach them the culture and the training of what you're doing at your company. It's very difficult. So green's the best. But also we're in an area right now. Nobody should be like upset about me saying this. We're in an area where we do need those green employees. We need as many people as we can in the industry right now. We're all super busy and we're hurting for workers.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, some of those things is make sure it's written down, don't always make the installer, the current installer, the trainer,
Don't if you always make the current installer the trainer.
Your best installer isn't always the best trainer, and that's what we commonly do. We'll bring a new guy in, we send him out with our best. Okay. Well, I guarantee he has no time for this. Okay.
Do you know what?
And so
I'm laughing. My dad, old Italian welder guy, used to fire people. And his foreman would come in and say, Joe, you're not allowed to fire people. That's my job. And my dad would go, he's useless. Get him out of here. I don't want him working with me. So my dad was a fast worker. He was a good welder.
Yeah.
But he was not, to your point, he was not the guy you put to train a new guy. Yeah.
He doesn't have any patience. The trainer needs to have a lot of patience. It's one thing that I've been skilled at. I have a lot of patience, And so, hey, my customers are female. I have to have the most patience in the whole world.
You do.
And they're working with their closet. And it's something that's super frustrating to them. And it takes patience to listen to those frustrations and then give remarkable solutions that can make them want the closet, want it enough to go to the hubby or whoever it is and say, hey, we need to get this thing, because he doesn't want to get it,
Are you selling at that point? Are you selling the closet as well, or are you talking about the install
at
side?
my company currently, I'm the main salesperson.
Okay.
But on
the install
that's
side,
where I'm very well rounded.
Yeah. On the install side, we're hiring green people, not Martians, people who are they don't know the industry. So let me ask you this: what are you looking for when that person walks through the door? What do they look like on paper?
So remember that your installer is also the last salesperson in the house. Don't forget that. Okay.
Yeah.
He's the one that's collecting the check. He's got to sell the fact that the customer still loves the product that we just put in. Most of them are going to love it, but there's going to be times when it's like, what did you guys do? And he's going to have to be the guy that converts that to what did you do to this is what we're doing. And this is why you want it like that. So we don't want to tear it out. Okay. And so he's the last salesperson on the site. So we're looking for somebody that people like. Always, any position, the number one thing you want is people like this person.
Likability.
And so, likability. They want to be, do you want a trustworthy, likable person that communicates well? Yes, quiet guys.
Physical appearance, like they have to be clean.
Yeah, they got to be good looking, clean up, not good looking, but clean up properly. Right. I like my guys in collared shirts. We have collared embroidered shirts for our installers. Okay. It's a Dickie. It's a nice shirt.
Right.
And it's strong enough to withstand them putting wood against it. But show it up in a holy t-shirt, no, that's not the right thing to do.
It's not the experience I've bought, by the way, if I'm buying a custom closet. Right.
Yeah, because it's expensive to buy a custom closet. You're hoping that you're going to get some good service. And so we want clean cut people. I was going to say guys, but I'm wrong. People, because it can be women too. To come in there and install a closet to make the customer happy again. So it's the last salesperson out. They got to be likable. They got to be trustworthy. They got to take care of themselves, know, and that's the most important thing. We can train them how to measure. A tape measure is something that everybody can learn how to do. Okay. Because you might hire somebody has never looked at a tape measure, and that's all right. As long as you can train them, as long as you got somebody with enough patience to sit there and explain why the tape measure is important.
It's not called 98 and 3 little bits. It's not called 98 and 3 little lines.
No. Yeah. Oh my gosh. 14/16. Nice. Is there 14/16 on the tape measure? Yes, 14/16 exists on the tape measure, but we actually call it something else. Okay. Yeah. And so you need to teach them that kind of stuff. You need to teach them about how to deal with a customer, because they're going to have to deal with objections. And that's like almost teaching them salesmanship, because a salesperson is supposed to deal with objections, come with a solution, make sure the solution is an option the customer likes. Right. So likable, able to deal with objections, and then we can teach them everything else from there. We really can.
So where do you start? I'm a green person. I've shown up. I mean, I will forget about how to find me. Let's talk about I'm first day on the job. What do you do to onboard me successfully so that I'm a healthy, happy, long living employee of yours? What's that look like?
So the first thing I'd want to do is I want to give them a test. Yeah, a written test. Yeah, see if they can actually do it. See what they know.
And what would you test though? Do you want to test? Can I read a tape measure?
Oh. Yeah, the test would be about carpentry. Absolutely. There'd be a lot of math on the test. There'd be some skills with the, what do you do with situations? And just give them a test, see what you're dealing with. And then you can make a plan on where you're going to go with working with them. And this is almost like when you decide you want to hire them, before they come on board, give them that test.
I was going to say that sounds like it's before you hire them. You want to give them that skills test.
So when they actually come on board, right? We've got a training scenario for them that's going to work for them, because everybody's going to be a little bit different. Some people are going to need more training in one area than the other. Do we need to teach them how to cut wood? Do we need to teach them about why a blade would kick back? Hey, remember where I came from? We started this whole thing. Eric Marshall came right out of high school into a van with shop tools. And I was a great shop employee, but on job site, it was different. It's something I had to learn.
It's interesting you say that, because I found this as well with the shops that I've worked with, is sometimes they'll say, well, we took the guys out of the shop and they're installing right now.
Yeah.
Or, we take the guys from install, we put them in the shop. But what happens is they're not actually great at that crossover. And look, I get it. As a shop, when you have to grow, you've got to stretch, and everybody has to wear all hats. I understand that. But it is also helpful to understand if we're forward-facing business owners, you're not going to get your best work out of a shop guy you send on site to do installs, or if you take the installer and put them in the shop. Those are different skill sets. It's a different set of tools, different set of situations, right?
Yeah. And people can grow up and learn new stuff too. I have a friend right now, Jesus. He's in Los Angeles. He owns a closet company in Los Angeles. Well, 28 years ago when I left Los Angeles, he was one of our best shop employees, barely spoke English. I went to his wedding. I moved away from LA. 6 or 7 years ago, I was back in Los Angeles. I think I was in Anaheim. Maybe it was, oh, no, I was in Las Vegas. I was in Las Vegas at a woodworking show in Las Vegas. And guess who walks up into the booth? Jesus.
Yeah.
And he goes, Eric. I go, how are you doing, Jesus? He goes, great. I own a closet company now. I'm like, wait a minute. You own a closet company? You went from shop employee, not even like shop manager or how to sell. He was just a helper in the shop, to the owner of a closet company now. That's an amazing story.
No. There's no more opportunity in this world. There's always people trying to hold us down and hold us back. No, look at him. He just went and made the future he wanted. Yeah. It's amazing how many people that listen to this show that are now business owners and own a business doing $800,000, $1 million, $2 million, didn't finish high school.
And they were sweeping the floors. And
now they're running a company, and because they've got the right heart, the right attitude, the right mindset, and all of the things that other people think are holdbacks, they just rolled right past them. Yeah, that's great. So Jesus started as an assistant. Now he's running a cabinet shop.
He owns and runs a cabinet shop.
Did you train him?
Yeah.
So you took him through this process.
Yes. I never actually got to see him installed. I trained him as a shop employee. And then we would have weekly sales meetings and the monthly company meetings. And then we would have also monthly times when each different department would come in for a training session. And we'd also talk. So at that weekly company meeting, we talk about what were the problems we had this month and how we're going to overcome those in the future. Right. And everybody got a voice.
I love it. We talk about that in the end of job report, doing something that I call Profit Lab, where we sit down and we dissect, we do an autopsy on an old job, not an old job, a recent job. And we see, where did we do well? Where did we kind of mess up? And you just talk about the problem. We're not pointing fingers again. We just want to see where we could have done better.
Yeah. And sometimes those answers come from the most unknowable people, like in Ted Lasso. That show Ted Lasso? It's so funny, by the way. I love to watch it over and over again. He took like the water boy and took one of his things that he had done and implemented it into the soccer team, and they started scoring goals. And that's the kind of stuff. Sometimes the water boy knows better than everybody else. He's just been stuck in a position he doesn't belong. And we don't know what life situation put them there, but they're there. And so listen to everybody in your team. They're part of your team. Why not listen to them,
Yeah.
So
take advantage. So when you're training, when you're onboarding people, you have a process that you follow all the time.
Yes.
And it's, so first of all, it's not always with the most skilled person. It's with the most patient person.
Yes.
And then you onboard them and you do a skills test. And then what do you start to do technically? Like, how do you grow me as an employee technically, or how do you grow me as an employee for your company? Like, what do you do to make sure that I'm going to stick?
Constantly having opportunities to talk with them. Like, the owner shouldn't be the guy running around looking at the paint jobs. He should be the guy after the paint job, or during the paint job, taking those guys to lunch or bringing them into the office and asking them, hey, what's going on with you? How can we better this whole thing? Because communication is key. You don't always know what's going on. And unless you start creating a atmosphere where they can share things, unless you start creating an atmosphere where they trust you and they can tell you stuff, it doesn't work for anybody. So I'm in constant communication with my guys about what's going on with them. How can we better it? What did you find that you felt we can improve? What's wrong? What's right? Those are very important things. Getting them through the training process is one, but then continually training them. You can't just put a guy out on a truck after a year of training. That might be how long it takes, by the way. After a year of training, he's on the truck by himself now, installing all the time. He might have a helper.
Right.
That's not the time to leave him alone. That's the time to improve him. I've seen so many guys go from that into salesmanship, into managers, into leaving the company, becoming owners of their own, which is fine.
Like Jesus. Okay.
Yeah. And I love that because I believe that the more people that advertise, the more business there is. Okay. I don't think there's anything such thing as competition. I don't like that word. We're all in this boat together.
I've never worried about the competition. I'll let them worry about me.
No. Yeah.
Let them worry about me.
I like competition that's competitive and compatible. If we got the same thing that we're selling, if they're trying to sell it some weird way, I'm like, why are we doing this? Why is the industry not trained well enough that we all know what we should be doing? Because there is probably a right way to do it. There's a million ways to do it. There's probably a right and best way for the customer. And if those kind of things happen, if there's training and if there's, that's the best thing about AWS and IWF is you get to go there and pay for knowledge.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, joining whatever industry association you want to join.
Any association.
When you're in that group, you're around other people who are also forward facing and looking for ways to do things better, think a little differently, find new solutions to old problems. Because if you're just in a silo of your own business all the time, you start to think the whole world is just like your, and it's not. It's just not. No.
There's a closet association. It's
aren't you the president of the closet?
Yes.
Sorry.
It's the Association of Closet Storage Professionals, right?
Yeah, ACSP.
And we have a Facebook, ACSP. I know it sounds like you're saving dogs or something. I know. Yeah. ACSP, because there's one that's really close to you're saving animals. There's a Facebook page. That Facebook page is my favorite place to be in the daytime, because there's constantly owners, installers, salespeople on there asking, how do we do that? And we're lucky enough that we have vendors, that don't use that platform to sell stuff. We have vendors that use that platform that have the chance to explain how to use that product. And I put all my employees on it. They're all on the Facebook page. And so they're allowed to see all these kind of conversations. And if I ever see something I think is good for our company, not only do I tag them on that line, because I'll put their name on there. Hey, you should look at this. Right. I'll direct them to it. Hey, today you need to go look at this thing on there because there's other people in the business talking about the same junk we're dealing with, and there's good solutions on there. Maybe it's not our solution, but we can talk about which one works best for us. So,
yeah, it's amazing when you get into it how much depth there is, and then of course that tells me that you're very proud of what you do, that you care about looking at it, and then you're pushing that kind of message to your team, and they're like, well, he's into this. He's into the closets. We should be into closets too. And, Eric, this
it's
has
a little
been.
crazy. I'm in the closet. It's a little crazy.
I know. I'm sure the jokes write themselves, man. You know that, right?
Every day. You have no idea. Oh my God. Yeah, I was in the closet with 5 guys yesterday in Indianapolis. We all came out at the same time. We were bumping into each other trying to get out the door.
What's the crazy,
Oh my God.
so you do, let me just ask this for fun before we start to wind down. What's the craziest closet install you've done? Now, it could be crazy in terms of size or application, but what was the craziest?
I got a lot of them. I think the aircraft carrier in Jacksonville, Florida.
You installed on a carrier?
Aircraft carrier. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. They put the van on the elevator and brought us up to the flight deck. So we drove up on the dock. We drove onto the elevator. They brought us up to the flight deck, drove over to the tower, and then we put some steel shelving in there because it had to be fireproof.
Yeah.
So we put steel shelving. Yeah. Yeah. It was funny.
And that is funny. Okay. That's a pretty neat application for.
Yeah.
I would have thought the government procurement would be a little bit different, but maybe that was the size of job. They're just like, find somebody local.
It was a diplomat that was going to get on the boat. That was going to stay on the boat as he was touring with the boat. Yeah, so it was a little interesting, but it was important for them to spend the money right to keep his stuff together because he had suits to meet with people. It was not a normal thing. Yeah,
sure. Yeah. And what about
round closets? Wait, what? Wait, what?
Sorry, you said round closets?
Oh yeah, round closets are my favorite. So I live in Arizona. Round is part of architecture. Southwestern architecture includes round walls.
Yeah.
And it's fun to deal with that. We'll talk about that another time because it's a really long story. But application. So application, weirdest thing I've ever had to build.
Yeah.
We're gonna keep it PG too because this is the closet. Okay.
Oh no.
No, we're not going there. But there's a lot of PG stories too. So there was a lady that defected from Russia at the Olympics. Yeah. She is an ice skater. She currently owns an ice skating club ice skating club here in Phoenix, Arizona. She has her own rink and she teaches young boys and young girls how to ice skate professionally.
Okay.
So she wears a headband all the time. Like she has this headband. She has hundreds of them. And so I had to make a headband rack, which is totally weird. Like nobody else in the world has ever told me they got more than 3 headbands. This lady had 200 headbands, okay? Like all different, like just like shoes, okay?
That is bizarre. I mean, it's interesting.
Yeah. But it's gonna run in, we're gonna run into weird stuff, all the time. There's special needs in the closet that we've got to attend to. One of the funnest things I ever did was build a fishing pole rack in Florida.
Oh, now you're talking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, we should have started there.
Now you can buy fishing pole racks, but back in the 80s, nobody had any special racks for this kind of stuff.
Well,
so we had to build an actual fishing pole rack. Yeah.
I got to say, I've been having this conversation quite a bit lately on the upsell side. You walk into an opportunity and it's, the standard kitchen or do a millwork package, but having that extra little bit of the conversation with other people in the house about how their hobbies.
Yeah.
Their hobbies, you start to hear, I collect bobbleheads, I collect coins. But the one that we hear is gun racks.
Yeah.
Where people want to have a beautiful display. Like you can buy safes and all that stuff, but if you can have a custom gun rack that's built in to match your millwork, et cetera, that's another level. And some people will like that with that retail display fixture lighting, almost like a Swarovski crystal cabinet.
Yeah.
But what an upsell.
They want the man closet. They want the secret agent closet,
right? Because there's let's assume it's the husband who has the gun rack. They're listening to their spouse say, this is what I want in the kitchen. This is what I want in the bathroom. And they're going along as husbands do and go, that's a great idea, honey. Absolutely, honey. I agree, honey. But nobody ever asks them, what do you want? Well, if they get a gun rack or somewhere for their models or whatever, but ask them.
Whatever it is.
What a great nudge to the millwork package you're selling to a home.
Yeah, and with laminate closets, you can build any size shelf you want to. You can build anything like that,
Yeah.
Pool cues, whatever it is. We've done a lot of what you just said, safe rooms that are full of guns. You can make a mirror panel in a closet that opens as a hidden door.
Don't tell anybody.
Yeah. It's in there. It's all in the closet. We all know it's in the closet. Okay.
We all know it's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Eric, if somebody wants to reach you, find you in this big wide world, how do we do that?
So they could email me, phone call, or just go to our website. I think the easiest is theclosettraininginstitute.com. So just the Closet Training Institute. That's our website. You can go on there. You know, my specialty is training for closets. So I travel a lot to come to see people and help them get through these bumps.
Yeah.
And teach them about how to do it right. And that's my specialty. The company is doing well. It runs kind of itself here in Phoenix. The sons run it. So I just travel a bunch now and take care of people.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I know a lot of people overlook our industry. A lot of my friends laughed when I said I had a podcast called Cabinet Maker Profit System.
Yeah.
They're like, what? You talk to who?
Ooh, yeah.
How many of those are in the world? And I'm like, yeah, don't worry. Just leave them. Leave us. We don't need anybody else listening in.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny.
Yeah.
You know, Instagram's a big thing. On Instagram, you can find us at the Closet Guru. And the website again is the Closet Training Institute. So
Perfect.
That's where you can find me. Yeah.
Eric, thank you so much for being with us. I'm glad you still have your thumb. Second, I'm glad you didn't get arrested. And third, I'm glad you were on the show. You're an excellent guest.
Yes. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking with you, Dom. You're a lot of fun. And I hope somebody out there heard something today that helped them make more money, because that's what we're all here for.
That's right.
Yeah. We got to make money. We got to survive. We're going to buy our toys. We want to go to the lake. Have a barbecue.
I want the gun closet now.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
I'll come help you.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Eric. Have a great day.
Okay, great. Great to talk to you. Bye-bye, Dom.
Bye. Well, Eric, I love the positive attitude and the great stories. You're a great storyteller. I love the energy and the excitement you bring to the closet industry. And you know, we talked earlier about the fact that the installation side of this business, and by the way, for those of you in the cabinetry business and the architecture millwork business, you know, let's understand the installation side of the company is a little bit different than the manufacturing side of the company. And Eric and I touched on that a little bit today. So please take that away. Think about that. You know, if that's something that you're stuck on, give me a shout. We'll get you unstuck, or at least point you in the right direction. But Eric shared that scary story. Can you believe that? How many of you have had a story like that where you showed up and did the work at the wrong house? Yikes. It's amazing what the world was like before cell phones, or even before pagers, when we could check on those things. Or imagine now with GPS tracking. And I'm sure some of you are stunned at the stories that still come out of your crews, given that we have all this technology. But back then, that was still a crazy story. So Eric, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. Folks, I hope you got a lot out of this. It's interesting. You know, if you're not in the closet industry, I hope you listened with a particularly sensitive ear, because there's a lot you pick up when you listen to other people doing similar work. You know, how can you take something away from today and apply it in your business? That's the big question I have for you.